The opinions expressed in this show are the views of the host and not necessarily that of WTRW, 94.3 The Talker, or the Bold Gold Media Group.
The following presentation is brought to you by the host of the program, who is solely responsible for its content.
Portions transcribed.
All Century 21 real estate offices are independently owned and operated.
Hi, I'm Jackie Ruddy, broker of Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate. Welcome to the Real Estate Roundtable on 94.3 FM The Talker. I'm here with my co-host, husband, fellow realtor, Pat Devaney.
Good morning, Jackie. How are you today?
I don't know. How am I?
I don't know. You're pretty good.
We rode together in the car.
Yes, we did. Yeah, that's right.
Yes,
my friend Billy gets a big kick out of this.
Yes, I'm doing well. Thank you very much for asking. We are with Chief Chris DeNaples of the Dunmore Fire Department. Good morning.
Good morning, Jackie. Good morning, Pat. Thanks for having me on today.
Thank you for coming in. We appreciate it. We are here every Saturday at 11 a.m. and Sunday at 11:30 a.m. discussing everything real estate. We have a full-time real estate office with many experienced realtors. We've been listing, selling, and appraising real estate for 50 years.
Wow, 50 years. During the week, feel free to email us with any questions you have at questions@jruddy.com. That's questions@jruddy.com. Or you can give us a call at 570-344-6724. And when you're at jruddy.com, this time of the year, you might want to check it out. We have a webcam on the roof, Chris. And you point it right at the corners, so you can see what's going.
Nice.
You can see what's going on there anytime. And this time of the year, you never know what kind of weather you're going to get.
Yeah, sometimes the Dunmore PD comes in to look at our cameras.
And we're featured on weathernation.com. Also picked up our camera.
Nice,
Right.
Beautiful.
Yeah. View our listings, search the MLS listings, and listen to archive radio shows by going to mobilefriendlyjruddy.com, JRUDDY.com. Also, you can meet all our agents there. It's quality service award-winning team. And check out all our agents on Meet Our Staff. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Pinterest. And don't forget about us being on podcasts. We're on the most popular podcast apps these days. You can search for the Real Estate Roundtable with Jackie Ruddy, and you should find us. Okay, Chief Chris DeNaples of the Dunmore Fire Department. Are you busy?
You know, going through the pandemic, we weren't so much busy. Call volume kind of dropped off. Now, the last month or so, calls have picked up a little bit. We haven't had anything really extravagant as far as any major fires or anything of that nature.
That's good news, right?
That's
always good.
We don't want fires. We don't want fires.
But with people being home so much these days, I would. This is surprising to me. I would expect that you would tell me that there's a little bit more going on.
In thinking about it in that respect, you would. And a lot of other areas I've been noticing are busier with fire-related incidents. But we've been lucky in Dunmore up to this point, and hopefully we keep that trend. Because I always say, if we could prevent a fire, that's the main part of our job. Is to prevent fires, and that's what we want to do. And that's one of the reasons why I was thrilled to be asked to be on this program today. Because that's the main thing. We want to prevent fires. We don't want to have to go and put fires out. We want to prevent them.
Yeah, with schools being virtual and everybody in lockdown and isolation, what are we doing? We're not hearing, and we're not at school doing the fire drills, and we don't have the fire department going to schools and teaching the kids what to be aware of, and even adults. We're not mixing and meeting anymore. So how are these functions being carried out?
And that's something that's quite concerning, because even when you go out to the schools, you're still hitting the adult population with fire prevention, because obviously there's faculty there, there's staff there, okay, and they get it. Well, with everything going virtual and that, fire safety and fires are still burning. Fire incidents are still happening. And it's kind of taken a back seat, it seems, as far as, public education that we normally did every year, during Fire Prevention Month to the pandemic safety. And I'm not downplaying the pandemic safety. Very, very important that word gets out there and people practice, the safety for this worldwide pandemic. But there, on the other hand, we need to go back to the basics. Fires are still happening. Houses are still burning. People are still dying in fires, unfortunately. So the concerning part to me is that, we're not getting that because, like I said, it's laying in the balance, that education. So it's not happening right now as much as it was in past years, previous years. And that's one of the things that we maybe could try to hit on today, to try to get that word out there for a reminder for people. Right.
So, we've done several fire shows over the course of the last 10, 11 years, Pat, right?
Yes, we've done one or two.
Right. Okay. So, and we've, and of course, we're going to mention it today. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time, but, the importance of fire extinguishers and how often we need to replace those and smoke detectors and the importance of replacing batteries, and fall and spring is usually a good reminder when we set our clocks and those items. But, Pat and I were talking about this upcoming show and how to cover topics that we haven't covered during our previous fire shows. And one of the things I think Pat mentioned is we wanted to ask you as chief of the Dunmore Fire Department, what do you think about a central alarm system for smoke detectors?
I think that's an important, as long as it's properly installed. Okay, I think that is a very important component. So you're talking about the central dispatch, right? So it goes into...
Yeah, right. A smoke detector goes off in the house and it causes dispatch.
That's very important because I'll tell you what happens, and this even happens at some commercial properties. Especially at night, if somebody isn't occupying a building or maybe even an apartment complex, okay, if that goes unnoticed and that alarm doesn't transmit, by the time somebody notices that alarm, calls it in, okay, a lot of times there's a greater risk for much larger loss of property and even more importantly, loss of life. Okay, so that's a very, very important step to have that. Do that extra money if you have to spend a little extra money and get that alarm system monitored because that much quicker you're going to get a fire department response, especially in winter months. And every second counts. Bad roads, okay, response time. So as soon as we can get that alarm, get that address, and start responding, it's important.
It goes back to the old thing. If a tree falls in the woods and there's nobody there to hear it, does it really make a sound? And it's the same thing with a smoke detector. I'm a retired New York City fireman. So I'm looking at Chris here, and he's got the white shirt on. I says, if I was still working, I says, I'd probably be driving Chris around,
And when you would call home, and then you would say, I'm driving the chief.
I'm driving the chief, and she'd go, I'm the chief.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. I like that.
Okay, one of the things I see a lot that gets people, I don't know, that's just, Chris, you know what I mean. People just don't see, like, now say I have a propane barbecue, right? Should I take that cylinder and put it in the basement right next to that can of gasoline about 2 feet away from my hot water heater? How about that? Is that a good idea?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And then the way that should work, Pat, to be quite honest with you, the propane gasoline should not by any way, shape, or form, or any means be stored in the inside of a residence, including an attached garage. That needs to be outside. And they always say the rule of thumb was keep it 10 feet or more away from the residence, away from the structure. Because anything could go wrong with that at any time. And guess what? If it's 10 feet away from the house, now you have at least a fighting chance to get out, potentially not involve even the house where you habitate. Okay, so very, very, very important steps. Do not keep any combustible material, any flammable material, okay, in a residence. You don't want to keep any flammables like gasoline, oils of any type, even paint thinners and stuff of that nature. People keep stocked in right next to combustibles, and something happens. Listen, it's a much bigger deal. Keep it out of the house at least 10 feet away.
There's an article I just read of a warehouse in Brooklyn where a man was arrested. He had 1,000 25-pound propane cylinders. He was storing it in a warehouse, and the cops, the marshal, when they did an inspection, they found that they arrested the guy. They just arrested him. And he says, this is what I give to the people who are heating outdoor areas at the restaurants. He says, I distribute these cylinders. People just, is it ignorance or?
It is. They think it's never going to happen to them. They may have heard that story. They may have read that story or something similar. And they think this is never, I've been doing this for 40 years. My grandparents did it. My great-grandparents did it. My parents did it. And it's okay to do it. It just becomes a normal practice in their life. And you know what? It only takes once. And you just can't do it. Just can't do it.
Okay, if we were going to tell fire stories, I can tell you stories in Brooklyn where there were hardware stores that had the propane stored inside, and it went off and it blew and it almost killed guys. So,
and the other thing is, it's just you have family in the house and something happens.
Right, just a leak if it's a crack on the valve. All right, we got to move on, right, Jackie?
Yeah, well, indoor or built-in garages, attached garages. What else do people do that they shouldn't be doing? What are safety issues there?
You know what? You get a lot of people in attached garages. We had one not a few years back, maybe about 8 or 10 years back now. Somebody was having an issue with their car, an electrical issue with their car, and attached garage to the residence, and they wound up putting that vehicle in the garage. Okay, and it started on fire. Mm-hmm. Okay, and obviously, if you know there's something wrong, okay, with a vehicle, keep it outside. Keep it away from the house. Okay, this was something that potentially could have been prevented. About a year or two ago, maybe 3 years now, we had another similar circumstance. The person didn't know there was anything wrong. They had a recreational vehicle, okay, inside of an attached garage. It was found that fire started, the origin of that fire was in that recreational vehicle. Started the whole house. The whole house was a total loss. There was nobody home, so nobody was injured, which was good. That's paramount, obviously, life safety first. But I don't like attached garages for that reason. The other thing that happens a lot in attached garages is we had another fella that was doing some welding. Okay, he did some welding. He was doing some of that in the attached garage. It caught some rags on fire. They smoldered. He found out at 3 a.m. that he had a little bit of a fire going on. Luckily, it was contained to just them rags. Okay, and it didn't extend into the house. But that could have been a major disaster. He got up to use the restroom and smelled something, walked out in his garage, and recalled that 5-6 hours before he was doing some welding in his garage. If you're going to do stuff like that, do not do it in an attached garage. If you know there's a problem with some type of equipment or a vehicle that's pending repair, do not put it inside. Do not put it inside.
Well, sometimes the attached garage is just the attached garage, but oftentimes there's living space above it, and so there's often bedrooms, typically in a lot of the 1960s, 70s type of homes that were built with an attached garage. Oftentimes, those properties do not even have sheetrock.
That's even a bigger problem, is you have no protection at that point. Where sheetrock is going to hold fire for a certain period of time. If you just have open joists and wood exposed, it's going to go up like a tinderbox. It's going to burn that much faster, and as a result of that, you're going to have that much less time to get out of the structure.
And so getting back to your point, the one story you just told, they were out of the house, and so, no loss of life occurred, which is best case scenario. They lost the house, but they have their lives, so they can rebuild. But, back to the central alarm, we're all changing our batteries, religiously, at the seasons. But if we're not home, what point is it?
Right. Right, especially if you live in an area where you don't have neighbors close by. Okay, nighttime, fires go undetected for longer periods of time at night. Okay, so if you have a central dispatched alarm system, that's going to transmit. That's going to call the fire department. Somebody's not going to have to pick up the phone and dial 911 and say, "We see smoke, we see a fire," and that's it's paramount for people to just go the extra step and get that alarm tied into a monitoring center.
Okay, so it's wintertime, and there are safety things that we should be mindful of during the course of the winter. And yes, because of the pandemic, even now we're spending a lot more time in our home. What items in our home should we be paying attention to that might be a safety issue.
Sure. So there's a couple of things here that we want to. The U.S. Fire Administration puts some literature out, and it shows through the course of their studies over the years that December, January, and February, so them 3 months, half of all home fires are caused by heating equipment, and people do non-conventional means to save money. Okay, to try to heat their homes.
What, that kerosene heater in my living room is a bad idea?
Kerosene heater in the living room, very bad idea. Very bad idea. Some people even turn stoves on, ovens on.
But they're saving money.
And it's literally proven
Playing with fire.
over and over and over to not only lose property, but lose lives. And people got to really understand. Think about their actions before they do them. If I do this, maybe I'm going to save $10. Maybe I'm going to save $20. Maybe I'm going to save $100 at the end of the month. But there's a good chance that I'm going to lose my life. I'm going to lose my home. Maybe I'm going to lose my neighbors' homes. Okay, and maybe I'm going to kill my family if I go this route. So that's what people need to think about before they go to these non-conventional routes. To heat their homes.
My brother. I was a New York City fireman. My brother was a New York City fireman. And February 3rd was the anniversary. It was 32 years since my brother was killed in the line of duty trying, there's firemen's lives that are at stake here too. He was trying to make a grab. There was women and children, hanging off the fire escape. And John went and he got caught and that was the end of it. So, this is people, how many times it can happen to me? It can happen to me. It can happen to you. Sure.
And one other point I wanted to make there, and one other statistic to show the importance of this I'd like to throw out there. So through this U.S. Fire Administration and the NFPA studies they did, 1 in every 7 home fires and 1 in every 5 home fire deaths involve heating equipment. Now, I'm going to expand on that a little more. It's not necessarily only the unconventional methods that are causing these fires, but people not getting their furnaces, their chimneys properly serviced annually. And maybe if they detect a little issue with it, well, they put it off. Let me wait and see what happens with it. Maybe it was just a fluke. Get your equipment serviced annually by a licensed technician, okay? If you even think there's an issue with some type of heating equipment, your chimney, your furnace, anything of that nature, have somebody come out and take a look at it. Have a licensed, reputable technician come out and evaluate it. Because it's not only the non-conventional means, and I know I keep hitting that point, but it's also defects and issues with some of that equipment that's left without, attention.
Well, oftentimes, we're selling older homes, 80 to 100 years old, 50 plus years, 40 plus years, whatever. Buyers usually have a home inspection. And so if these things aren't picked up on the home inspection, it doesn't mean that it's good. It's not a stamp of approval that you don't have to do anything from here on in. Sure. So, people have to buy a house and stay on top of these things. An annual check is good advice. But oftentimes one of the items that's looked at in a home is the electrical.
Sure.
And sometimes it's, older electrical. And so we're in a situation where we have sellers that say the electrical's perfectly fine, never gave us any trouble. And then, of course, the buyers, they're not going to get brand new electrical. Sure. But electrical is something else that could cause a lot of problems for people.
Absolutely. You see a lot of fires, as a result of electrical incidents. And it may be just a good idea to have, and again, I know you're not going to be able to evaluate every wire. It's going to be covered by sheetrock, plaster, etc. But it may be a good idea to have an electrician come out if you're moving into a new home. Have them evaluate the panel. Have them evaluate some of the electrical components and just say, hey, listen, it looks good. It doesn't look good. This is what needs to be taken care of. Even electric stoves, etc., all components. It's a good idea to have somebody that's reputable and licensed, put a set of eyes on it.
Chief Kristen Aples of the Dunmore Fire Department. We're enjoying our talk with you today. We're going to head towards a break, but before we go, Pat's going to review a listing.
No, we have, Chris, this house. It's on the corner of Greenridge in North Washington. This is it's a 6-bedroom, 4-bath home. It's 1601 North Washington Avenue in Scranton. It's $699,000. This is one of the prettiest streets in all of Scranton, and it's lined with gorgeous homes. This home has been completely updated and restored with a new roof, new wiring, new plumbing, electrical. It's got a new heating system. They were working on this home for months. This home has high ceilings, gorgeous hardwood floors, 2 stone fireplaces, new windows and doors, and a new kitchen. You should look at jruddy.com at the pictures. It's got a new kitchen, and it's got an open floor plan with gorgeous granite countertops, a large pantry. There's an attached 2-car garage. It's also got a new deck and a front porch, along with this. It's a long, beautiful concrete driveway. This home is a must-see. That's a 6-bedroom, 4-bath, renovated home at 1601 North Washington Avenue in the heart of Greenridge for $699,000, and that's listed by Tom Pavlovsky of our office.
Thank you, Pat. We'll return in just a few moments with more Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21, Jack Ruddy Real Estate, and 94.3 FM The Talker.
The talented team of professionals at Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate. They're not just real estate agents, they're agents of change. They're on a never-ending quest for the best for you and your family. They can help you find precisely what you want at this time in your life. A computer, a website, an app, and a listing by itself can't do that. They're obsessed with better and deliver extraordinary, embracing the what if, not just the what's been done before, with a level of accountability and honesty not found anywhere else in the real estate industry. Don't settle for average, okay, or just all right. This change in your life is monumental, and there's only one Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate that will help you rock that change. Call 570-344-6724 and visit jruddy.com, JRUDDY.com. Each Century 21 office is independently owned and operated.
We're back with more Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate on 94.3 FM The Talker. I'm Jackie Ruddy, broker, and with my husband, fellow realtor Pat Devaney.
And we're back
with Chief Krista Naples of the Dunmore Fire Department. Thank you, Chief, for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
We're having a great discussion. Good. I'm glad you're enjoying yourselves. We're talking about things that happen in the wintertime, things we need to focus on, mistakes people make. During the break, we started to talk about those electric space heaters that are very popular. People like to plug and go and use it sometimes not only as a supplement, but in place of, because, oil is not cheap. And if they can get away with not filling their oil tank, which is $500, $600 at a clip, right? Mm-hmm. Two oil tanks or whatever. What do you say about that, running those space heaters continuously?
So there's a couple things with them. Number one, you want to make sure you get a good one. You want to make sure that you look at it, make sure it's in good shape. If it's something you had around the house, the core is in good shape. You want to always keep them space heaters at a minimum, I say, of 3 feet away from anything that could burn. So any type of combustible, any type of bedding, chairs with fabric, anything that could possibly burn, they need to be 3 feet away from. You don't want them sitting on carpet. Okay, you want them on a floor surface that is non-combustible, that's not going to burn easily.
So a hard floor surface.
Like a tile floor or something of that nature. You really don't want them sitting on carpet. And you want them plugged directly into a receptacle. Okay?
So no extension cord.
No extension cord. That becomes problematic. That increases the chances of you having a problem with them. So we want to keep them directly, and we don't want them running continuously. And the thing I always say with this, and none of us like to do this, but grab the owner's manual, the instructional manual, and go by all the information that's in there regarding them. No one knows best about the operation of it and the capabilities of it than the person who manufactures it. So you always want to look and review and understand the operational instructions for them before you even plug them in for the initial time, if you're buying new. But yeah, they could be a dangerous piece of equipment if they're not properly used.
I am guilty. In my garage, I have an old electric space heater, and a couple of weeks ago, I looked at it and I was like, I don't know. And I plugged it in and it barely worked, and the fan went rum, 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 and I smelled a little bit of burning because, the crap was on the coils, and I unplugged it. But that thing should end up in the garbage, you see. But I'm too, I figure I can get away with it.
Absolutely.
I can use it and it'll be fine.
It won't happen to me.
No, it won't happen to me. But I was in the garage there just trying to warm up because I was changing something on the car.
Yeah, but what about people who sleep with these all night long?
Yeah, not a good idea. Not a good idea. You shouldn't be sleeping with them, leaving them unattended, sleeping with them. That's not what they're designed for. That's not what they should be used for.
Like vents in the bathroom, I'm thinking of those too. People leave them on all the time and leave, just go.
Yeah, anything of that nature shouldn't be left unattended. Obviously, a vent is hardwired in. If it's in good shape, they're not as problematic as a space heater, from what I've seen in my experience. But again, you shouldn't be leaving that stuff on and leaving it unattended and walking away from it, and leaving the house especially.
Okay, power strips. Let's talk about those. DC, my producer, brought up an excellent point. Some time ago, he attended some sort of workshop, and the gentleman that was putting that workshop on spoke about power strips, and the common mistake people have is leaving them on the floor where dust collects and gets into those plug openings. So the proper way to install them on any wall or area would be to put them
To be mounted
vertically.
That is true, and dust could, be problematic as far as the cause of a fire. Again, dust could be combustible, and if dust gets hot, and electricity obviously could get hot and cause dust to get hot, you could have a problem there. So, the big thing is don't leave them on the ground. Properly mount them. Go by the operational manual, okay, and mount them the way that tells you to mount them, and nothing else. And maintain them, clean around them regularly. Make sure you're keeping all dust away from them. And if they look like they're starting to break down or they start to generate, more heat than they normally do, discontinue using them and get a new one.
Well, wherever our TVs are, we have Xboxes and TVs and this and that, and they're usually on a piece of furniture that's a large piece of furniture, and there are 50 million wires everywhere, but they're magnets. Those electronics are magnets for dust.
Sure.
And I'm not seeing the dust that's behind every year. I mean, as I spring clean and do, if I'm not weekly, I'm not doing this, but typically at least once or twice a year, I'm getting behind. But there's a lot of dust that collects back there.
Sure, especially, during the summer months, you have air conditioning units running, it's circulating dust through the house, and, everything's collecting on there and laying on there. So you want to make sure that you're cleaning them more than a couple times a year.
All right. We can do that. Yeah. You don't see it, you don't think about it. It's
true.
Fine, right?
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. Okay. Before we close the show, is there any good advice you can give us to anybody out there that's listening? What's one purchase that we can make that wouldn't crack the bank, that would save a life?
So, you always want to have more than one way out of any part of your house, if possible. Okay, so, you need to have plan A, and if plan A doesn't work because that's where the fire is, that's where the smoke is, you need to have plan B. And sometimes plan B, okay, could be out a window, okay, because you have no other means to get out safely any other way. So it is a good thought process and something to think about, at least, to look at a rope ladder from second story, third story. If that's a last resort, it's something good to have. It's not real expensive. What I do suggest is, if you do wind up buying one, you and your family sit down, have a plan. This is when we'd use this as a last resort. If we had to get out, know the height of it, know it's going to make it, know how to use it. So pre-plan that. Pre-plan it, so the first time you're looking at this thing is taken out of the box isn't at 2 a.m. when your house is burning.
Sure. Have it in a bedroom. Easily accessible. Yep. And then if there's third floor finished space or something where there's a lot of time spent.
And close the door.
Close the door. Close the door behind you. Close the door.
Okay, Chief, we had a great talk with you today. Would you come back next week?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Chief Kristen Aples of the Dunmore Fire Department. Remember to tune in next Saturday at 11 a.m. and Sunday at 11:30 a.m. to listen to more of the Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate on 94.3 FM The Talker.